Hello people. What we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about the fly-by-wire system. Um, as you can see, I'm really just looking at the FCOM, which tells you pretty much, um, how fly-by-wire works. So, fly-by-wire is a system mainly used by Airbus aircraft. If I do quickly scan up here, you can see all the models that use fly-by-wire. It is missing the A350, but the A350 is also a fly-by-wire model. And fly-by-wire in simple form is having a computer cross-check commands from the pilots, and then if it is in the correct or acceptable conditions, it will apply the action to either the elevator, whatever the system is, it will apply it. Um, and so what I've done on the A350 is basically fly-by-wire now, and I'm going to demo that soon. So the difference between the Boeing system and the Airbus system is Boeing fly-by-wire is not as rigid, of course, as the Airbus one. They have their theory or design theory on it is to still have the pilot to still be the alpha and omega of the plane, and so its fly-by-wire really is essentially trimmed for speed, whereas Airbus's fly-by-wire is trimmed for flight path maintenance, meaning that if you were to take a Boeing plane and you were to try and, let's say, you moved your plane to 5 pitch and you let go of the yoke or whatever, that fly-by-wire system will hold the speed you left it at that pitch, but will not hold that pitch in terms of if you go below 250 knots, for example, say that was the speed you were at before you let go of the yoke, it will, and let's say that you dropped your speed, it will drop the nose to try and gain that speed, and then it will pitch the nose up if it goes over that speed. So in essence, its its fly-by-wire system is only dealing with speed. Personally, I don't like that system. That's pretty, for me, kind of disappointing, because I don't really personally believe in that type of theory of fly-by-wire. The Airbus one is the flight path maintenance, and what it does there is it maintains the the last flight path. It maintains basically the pitch you set and the bank angle you set, so that therefore it's really point and shoot with Airbus planes, whereas with Boeing planes it's more so you can control the speed, and the only way to really mainly climb altitude is to increase your thrust in. Most pilots do learn in flight schools that you pitch to control speed and you add thrust to gain altitude or lose altitude, which is in theory true, because if you want to climb altitude you need more energy, and to get more energy is always usually from the thrusters, whereas if you want to control speed, the most effective way to control speed is pitch, and you can clearly do that by pitching up your plane up, watch the speed, it will go down. It's just basic theory of aircraft physics, and pitch your plane down and you'll see the speed climb up. If you try and remove the if you try and remove the thrust, for example, your speed change won't be as significant if the plane was flying level. So if you had the plane flying level for as long as you can, the speed change for that plane will not be as significant. In fact, what you will see is if you move the thrust back, the plane will drop, which is it dropping its altitude, and it will gain more speed. That's not essentially what you wanted, because what you wanted to do was, by moving the thrusters back, is to try and lose your speed, not gain more speed. So that tells you in basic physics that thrust on an aircraft doesn't control speed as weathers how pitching does. Okay, so like with planes, pitch for speed, thrust for altitude. That's really the basic thing. So with the fly-by-wire here, the system that I chose, of course, is the Airbus system because it's the A350. And yeah, pretty much everything here, I will implement one. I will implement two here. I don't believe I will be bothering with load factor because load factor is pretty much this. High speed protection, I will definitely be implementing high speed protection. High AOA protection, again implementing that because we don't want someone to go past a certain amount of AOA, else you stall. And funny enough, this must be the Boeing side of things here, because I was about to say what's the point of this when you have this. So this must be the Airbus side of things, and this is the Boeing side of things here. So as you can see, again, as I said, the Boeing fly-by-wire is very it's not as advanced as the Airbus one. So only really got 3 types of things. The Airbus one has quite a bit. So that's that. So anyway, the main thing you will notice about a fly-by-wire plane is how it holds your last pitch command. In the Airbus plane is it moves the horizontal stabilizer. Most times in flight, the elevator is actually never really used in a stable plane anyway. The only time you ever see the elevator in air on an Airbus plane moving drastically is if it's in normal, if it's in alternate law, or manual law, and that's if like there's been failures across the board, or if it's coming in for the landing, as I said, or takeoff, then you see the elevator moving. Other than that, it's the horizontal stabilizer that controls that type of thing after you've inputted whatever you want. So anyway, let's get moving. I'm going to get this plane in the air, and then I'm going to show you guys the keyboard mode and how this keyboard mode uses fly-by-wire, and basically how the plane uses fly-by-wire. On the A350, there's a reason why X-Plane never implemented keyboard mode, and I realized why when I was implementing keyboard mode, and now I've actually done keyboard world very well, so it matches the side stick. But the good reason why they never did is because keyboard mode is too linear. If you move a yoke, you don't get an instant response. It's usually like a quadratic response. The more you push, the more you get force. Whereas if you press the D button of your keyboard or the A button of your keyboard, you'll get an instant reaction. That's unrealistic, and it will lead to very jointy type of movements with the plane. So it led me to decide to work on fly-by-wire, and basically it's made this A350 a lot more easy in keyboard mode to fly. So I'm in keyboard mode now. Okay, keyboard mode here. As you can see, I've used my keyboard, and it's gonna hold my last bank here and my last pitch, holding it pretty well. We've gone into the turn, and you can see how smooth that keyboard mode was. It's taking my turn in. The horizontal stabilizer, if I press T, will usually constantly be keeping the movement. We're staying around 8 pitch, 7 pitch. As you can see, it's trimming where it needs to be. That's the fly-by-wire system, it's keeping itself up. Anything I throw at disturbances, if I open the gear, if I remove the reversers, if I move the thrust, the plane will focus on itself and it will recorrect, just like the real thing. because the real thing is PIDs. It's just computers checking everything and observing what it needs to know. So as you can see here, I've made a full turn. It's still at 8 pitch. It's still maintained my bank. I'm gonna now just level out, very gentle. I've only applied all the I need there, and whatever. Okay, so very easy. Keyboard mode is now miles stable from what it was before. Keeping the speed, the auto throttles keep doing its best to keep the speed at 300 knots. Now pitch down, very smooth for me. I'm pitching down to around 1 to 2 pitch, and it keeps it there. Now if I throw in the take off the flaps here, you'll see that the flaps change the CG. Plane's gonna have to adjust, and it's adjusted very quickly, the trim for it. There you go. So we're in 0.15 now. Before you were hanging around 0.7, so as you can see, the change for that is gone. Even the thrust has moved itself a lot more lower now in the lines, because there's no more drag coming from the flaps at this speed. And the plane will, if I leave it for 2 hours, 3 hours, it will fly the same flight path, same bank angle, all the way down. Why? Because fly-by-wire is controlling that side of things. It makes the plane miles easier to fly, miles better to fly, and miles fun to fly. I'm going to take the control back now into mouse mode. And I'm going to rec mode here, and it should hold my pitch. Oh, hold on 1 second. Request mode. I forgot. Funny enough, I forgot the what do you call it? The bank is still on. I'm gonna have to go into the script and disable that. But basically, once that would be done, there would be no way to move your mouse in request mode. Like as you can see in pitch, there's no way to pitch up and down in request mode. I haven't actually turned on the what do you call it, the bank limiter, so it stops you banking. So at the moment I'm able to override the bank, which is not a good thing, of course, if you want to tune yourself to stay static. You can call the request mode a pitch hold, bank hold type mode as well for the mouse mode, or just a auto trim mode. It's really up to you. But anyway, let's get back to keyboard mode, because I much more prefer keyboard mode now. So like, keyboard mode is just so much fun to fly with. Of course, at a certain altitude, I am going to have the system, of course, give you mouse controls back. So if you're below 200 feet, it will give you controls back with the mouse mode, so that you can land the plane, as well as take off the plane. So take off and landings, you won't be able to use keyboard mode until above 200 feet. Simple reason is you don't have a control of the auto trim below 50 feet, and of course that means you don't have any pitch controls for the keyboard mode. Thus makes it useless for takeoff, and pretty ineffective, of course. What's turning going to do for you if you can't take off? And anyway, in the Airbus planes, the flare mode, as I did talk about, the flare mode and takeoff modes or ground mode are always manually controlled. So the elevator is manual to the side stick, meaning that the side stick has full elevator command, full aileron command. It overrides the computer in those modes. So That's why, again, keyboard mode wouldn't be used below that altitude. There we go. So keyboard mode is just so much fun to use now. Anyway, the final stuff I've got for the plane is to make sure that the plane is, again, functioning sound as it should be, and then just reconnecting everything back up again, and then she should be done for everyone to use again. And I say all the time that we've taken, I think it's been like now 1 or 2 months. I've been super busy outside as well, with a lot of projects, but all the time we've taken should make things very, very, very stable. With the plane, should make things very, very stable. The plane, and more importantly, the other upcoming planes should be a lot more faster, that are Airbus, for example, because perfecting the system now means those planes will see less issues. Mainly any issues or updates we'd be doing on those planes would be bug fixes, what we hope, of course. And so, you know, this fly-by-wire system now being added, the pilots, people that have been in my test place, have confirmed the plane is a miles better than what it was before. To hear that it's miles better than hearing it's just good. It's improved a bit, because we don't want it to improve a bit if we're going to take this bit of time. We want it to improve from what it was before, which from what we hear, it has. So that's great to hear. And so now with this being pretty much close to done, can't wait to see the end of the A350 in development and to see some flights with it. That's the joy to see. After that, gonna make the A380 optimization, get that done, and then my beautiful A321 pops out. Gonna have some fun with that A321, develop that quickly, put the kit on, because it's now mainly just kit and tune now, which is the joy. Tune the suspension as well, of course. And then the big vote for our first wide-body Boeing begins, and we'll see what Boeing people really want out of the 777 or the 787 first. Get working on one of them. Of course, we've already started some work on both of them, so it really depends on what people choose, and then I go straight in, work on that plane. And whatever Boeing plane that is, if the Del Nina airport hasn't released by then or debuted by then, we'll be the one to launch the Del Nina airport. I think at the rate I'm going anyway, the Del Nina might be out even before that. It might be out actually A321 time. So who knows? But anyway, that's the video. And funny enough, I'm actually pretty happy that the the autopilot is pretty accurate now. We did a few changes, so it's a bit more stable now. It's gonna go and compensate quickly for the altitude change because of banking. So if you know your physics on the plane, when you bank, the plane does lose altitude. It's a natural thing that's going to happen, because when you tilt the plane, the lift coefficient is less, and that's just as a result of load factor being a lot more higher now, because you've slanted the plane, and so gravity is pushing with more power now, because there's not enough vertical lift component to override that gravity, because the most of the lift component is slanted as the wings are at an angle. Okay, there's actually a formula for load factor, and how it affects the plane when you go into a bank. Can't remember, it was something, I think it was 1 over cosine, something 1 over cosine something. Most planes can only do a max load factor of 2.5 G. Anything higher than that, of course, you'd kill your passengers and you'd kill yourself probably, so it's not very good. Okay, so I've confirmed the plane is reached 250 heading, dead on, and it's gonna go and recorrect itself for the altitude as it should, because it had to apply quite a bit of force and power to keep the plane stable in that turn, as it should. So anyway, that's good for me. That's everything on that type of thing. I think that's pretty much it. Can't wait to get this out the door. I'll be a happy man when it's done, believe me. I love the A350 so much, but when you work on the same planes for too long, it gets kind of boring, hearing the same engine sound for too long. Not that I don't love good Trent, but it's nice. It will be nice to hear the sounds of the Trent 900 again, and more especially the new IAE and CFM engines when we start the A321. Video over. I'm actually, funny enough, people were saying my headphones are pretty bad. Or, I mean, not my headphones are pretty bad, but my mic is low. I personally don't know why, because on my end, when I play the music, or I play my videos back again, it's never too quiet as people say, so I am pretty confused in that aspect of things. But hey, I will never know. Hey, so I am getting some new headphones. We'll see if the difference is there or not, and if it isn't, then we have to think about something else. Well, thanks for watching, and goodbye.